At my birthday dinner, my nephew grabbed my jacket and said, "Dad says it's secondhand trash." Then he poured juice down the sleeves while they all cackled. That night, I canceled the $1,300 transfer covering their mortgage permanently. I don't usually do birthday dinners. The idea of sitting at a table with people pretending to like you just enough to get through dessert feels more like a performance than a celebration. But this year was different, or at least I thought it would be. I turned 38, and something about it made me want to try again. Just once, maybe to prove to myself that the people I kept helping would eventually show up for me too, that if I gave them one more chance, they might surprise me. So I booked a quiet table at this little bistro I liked. Cozy, not flashy. I invited just a few people. People I'd supported over the years. People who didn't think twice about asking me for help when they needed it. 6 total, including Aaron, my older brother, and his family. I even offered to cover the dinner, though I didn't say that out loud. It was understood. It always was. Aaron arrived nearly half an hour late. No apology. Amanda trailed behind him, already mid-rant about traffic and parking. Their son Jace strutted in like he was walking into a circus he owned. He had a plastic cup of something neon red in his hand and sticky fingers before they even sat down. I draped my jacket over the back of my chair, navy blue, lined with real wool, structured enough to look expensive, even though it wasn't. I bought it last year during a rough patch after getting a raise I didn't tell anyone about. It was the first adult thing I'd splurged on in years. Clean lines, deep pockets. Worm. I love that jacket. Jace yanked it off the chair like it was trash, held it up and said way too loudly, "Dad says this is secondhand trash." Then he tilted the cup. Red juice, maybe cranberry or whatever kids drink now, poured straight into the sleeves like it was a joke, like he was doing a magic trick. I didn't even move. I just stood there and watched it spill. Not one of them flinched. Not Aaron, not Amanda, not even a fake reprimand, not a, "Hey, say sorry to your aunt." Nothing. Aaron actually smirked and muttered something under his breath I didn't catch, but Amanda laughed. Not loudly, just enough for me to know they were enjoying it. I excused myself and walked to the restroom with the soaked mess. The sleeve dripped down my arm. I pressed it under the faucet in silence, rubbing at the stain like it could undo the humiliation. It couldn't. When I came back to the table, they'd already ordered. The rest of the dinner blurred. I barely touched my food. I barely spoke, but no one noticed. They just passed plates, asked for refills, told stories I wasn't part of. I paid the check without comment. That night, I got home and changed into pajamas, sat on the edge of my bed, and checked my phone. There was a message waiting. "Earn. Did the $1,300 go through yet? Amanda wants to book the tickets for December this weekend. Let me know ASAP." That money wasn't for tickets. It was for their mortgage. I'd been covering part of it since last year when Aaron called me sobbing after they missed 2 payments. I'd picked up a weekend job temporarily just to make it work. I never told anyone. I never asked for anything back. They didn't know I'd been late on my own rent 3 times just to make sure their stay paid, that I hadn't taken a vacation in 5 years. And here was Jace pouring juice on my jacket while they all laughed like I was the family punchline. I stared at the message. Then I opened my banking app, found the automatic transfer, and canceled it. Not paused, not postponed. Hence, no heads up, no explanation, no goodbye. It was the first boundary I'd ever drawn in my adult life, and I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel sadness. I felt something else. Not anger exactly, just this hollow silence I'd never given myself the space to sit in. That night, I slept better than I had in years. It took 4 days for Aaron to notice, 4 whole days before he called. Not to ask if something was wrong, not to check on me after the dinner, not even to say thank you. Just a casual, impatient voicemail. "Hey, I think the bank messed something up. The transfer didn't show. Can you double check on your end?" That was it. Not a word about the jacket. Not a single acknowledgement of Jace's stunt or the way they treated me like an unwanted guest at my own birthday. Just straight to the money. I didn't call back. The next day I got a text from Amanda. It was a screenshot of some vacation package and a message that said, "We need to book before Friday or the prices go up. Can you sort the transfer out?" She didn't even bother with a hello. I left that one on read. That same night, I was at the laundromat scrubbing the sleeve of my jacket again. It still had a faint stain, and I knew I could probably take it to a dry cleaner, but part of me didn't want to. I wanted to see it. The reminder, a mark left by people who thought I'd never stop cleaning up after them. And I don't know why, but I started remembering things I'd buried. Like how Aaron used to pick on me when we were kids. Tiny mean comments about my clothes, my weight, my voice. How our parents always brushed it off as teasing, and how that teasing had followed me into adulthood in the form of tiny humiliations I taught myself to tolerate. They weren't accidents. They were patterns. On Friday morning, he finally called again. This time I picked up. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to hear how far he'd go before realizing he'd crossed a line he couldn't come back from. He jumped right in. Yeah, so I'm going to need that money by tonight. Amanda's holding the reservation, but we need to lock it in before midnight. I said nothing. He paused for a second. Who? Still nothing. You good? I asked if he remembered what Jace said at my birthday dinner. He remembered the jacket, the juice, the way they laughed. He chuckled. Just a kid messing around. Come on, Bridget. Don't be so sensitive. We were all just having fun. Amanda thought it was hilarious. You know how he is. You used to laugh at stuff like that. I told him I never laughed. Not once. He went quiet for a beat. Then he said, You're really not going to send it, are you? I told him no. He tried to guilt me. Said the mortgage was tight this month, that they were counting on it. Amanda was already planning things. Jace had his heart set on the trip. I said, maybe they should teach Jace not to pour juice on things that aren't his. He said, You're blowing this way out of proportion. I said, No, I'm finally seeing it for what it is. He hung up. No apology, no ownership, just a long silence followed by the familiar click of someone choosing pride over accountability. I half expected a follow-up text that night, something snarky or bitter, but there was nothing. Instead, I got a message the next morning from a number I didn't recognize. It was from Amanda's sister, Claire. We'd only met once at a barbecue years ago. The message just said, Hey, not sure if you heard, but they missed this month's payment. Amanda's freaking out. Thought you should know. I stared at it for a long time and I felt something shift. Not guilt, not regret, freedom. After Claire's message, I didn't reply right away. I just sat with it. The silence, the chaos I wasn't part of, the growing crack in their perfect image. It was quiet, but I could feel something unraveling. On Sunday morning, I got a knock at my door. I thought it was a delivery, but when I looked through the peephole, it was Amanda. I hesitated, but opened it barely. She was holding a Starbucks cup like this was just a casual visit. Hey, thought I'd drop by. I asked if Aaron was with her. She said no. He didn't know she came. Then she said it. I just think this is a huge misunderstanding. Jace was joking, and you know how kids are. I'm sure he didn't mean it, and honestly, if you're upset, just say so. Ghosting us over $300 isn't fair. I almost laughed. I told her it wasn't about the money. It was about the way they made me feel. That birthday dinner. That was the moment I realized I was never part of the family, just a walking safety net with a wallet attached. She rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. Aaron said you were always kind of the sensitive type, always trying to make things about you. That was when something inside me flipped. I asked if she remembered 2 years ago when they had that anonymous donation come through after Aaron's hours got cut. The $3,000 that saved them from foreclosure. The one they thought was from Amanda's uncle. That was me. I reminded her about last Christmas, the one where Jace got that gaming console and Aaron told him Santa really came through. That was me too. I'd sold my tablet and skipped buying anything for myself so he could have something to open. Her face changed. Not guilt, not even shock, just calculation. So you're throwing that in our face now? No, I said. I'm just telling you because you spent years pretending I didn't matter. And now you're about to find out what life's like when I stop pretending too. She stared at me like she didn't believe I was serious. Then she tried to smile. But let's be real, you're not going to cut us off. You always come around. You're not that cold. I didn't say anything. I just closed the door. 5 hours later, I got another text from Claire. You won't believe this. Amanda told a few people at church you were emotionally unstable and stopped the payments because you're going through a crisis. She said you're jealous of their family and trying to sabotage them. I stared at the screen for a long time, not because it surprised me, but because I didn't expect it to happen so fast. The next day, I did something I'd never done before. I posted publicly on Facebook, just a short message, no drama, no accusations. Just for anyone wondering, I'm doing fine. I've made the decision to stop financially supporting family members who have taken advantage of me for years. If you've heard anything different, consider the source. Within hours, the ripple started. Old friends of Amanda's began messaging me privately, telling me they believed me. A former coworker of hers even said she wasn't surprised. Apparently, Amanda had bragged about having someone who covered bills when things got tight. Then, someone I hadn't spoken to in years, a woman named Tasha, who used to be in Amanda's mommy group, sent me screenshots. It was a group chat. Amanda was in it, and she had sent a voice note complaining that I was trying to act like a martyr and probably just wanted attention. But the worst part? She joked that maybe she should send Jace over to spill something else and teach her another lesson. That night, I printed every message, every screenshot, and every voice note. I created a folder, not to use against them, not to get revenge, but to remember, to never forget what they'd said and done when they thought I wouldn't fight back. I never responded to Amanda again, but 2 weeks later, I heard from someone completely unexpected, Jace's teacher. She emailed me through the PTA directory, said she wanted to talk, said something had happened at school, and that's when things really started to unravel. I wasn't even sure how Jace's teacher got my contact info. I wasn't listed as an emergency contact. I hadn't been involved in any school things. The only time I'd even been near his school was to drop off supplies Amanda had asked me to buy last year: pencils, notebooks, a backpack that I never got a thank you for. The email was short and formal. She asked if I had time for a brief call regarding a recent incident involving Jace. She said I hadn't been listed as a guardian, but based on what Jace had told her, she thought I might want to know. I hesitated for an entire day. I didn't owe them anything. Not anymore. But something about it stuck with me. Maybe it was the phrasing. Maybe it was the fact that she'd reached out to me, not Amanda or Aaron. So I called her. She thanked me for getting back to her, then got straight to the point. There was an assignment, something about family heroes. The kids were supposed to write about someone they admired and why. Jace had written about me. I blinked. She said the essay had started out fine, how I helped people, how I worked hard, how I always showed up. But then halfway through, he'd gotten angry, wrote that I ditched them, that I was selfish now, and that his parents said I was unstable and mean. He said I used to be helpful but turned fake, and that sometimes people wear masks. Apparently, the tone was so jarring the teacher thought he might be going through something serious. She asked if there was anything going on at home, anything that might explain the emotional shift. I told her the truth, a condensed version, that I'd been financially supporting the family for years, but had recently stepped away, that Jace may be repeating things he'd overheard from people upset they weren't getting what they used to. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That actually helps because he told another student during recess that his parents said the gravy train ended because his aunt lost her mind." I didn't know whether to laugh or throw my phone. Then she said something else, something I didn't expect. "I just thought you should know. Jace's behavior has changed a lot in the past 2 weeks. He's angry, lashing out. And when we asked him who he'd feel safest talking to about things, he said your name." I froze. That night, I sat with it, not out of guilt, but confusion. This was the same kid who poured juice down my jacket sleeve and laughed. The same kid who mocked me at dinner. But now he was asking for me. It hit me harder than I expected, because deep down I'd always believed Aaron and Amanda were shaping him into something cold, something calculated. But maybe he wasn't fully lost. Maybe he'd just been marinating in their mess too long. Still, I wasn't going to let that pull me back in. I sent the teacher a polite email the next day. I told her I appreciated her honesty, but I wasn't in a position to step into a parental role or get involved directly. I wished her luck, and I meant it, but I didn't sign up for this, and I wasn't going to be guilted back into the chaos. Then, 3 days later, I ran into Amanda's sister Claire at a grocery store. She waved me down and pulled me aside near the frozen food aisle. She looked nervous. "I need to tell you something," she said, "but you didn't hear it from me." Apparently, Aaron and Amanda weren't just behind on their mortgage. They were 3 payments behind now, and the bank had issued a formal notice. Their savings were gone. The vacation Amanda tried to book never happened because the credit card she used to reserve it got declined. But the worst part? Amanda's been telling everyone that I promised to cover it, that I backed out last minute and ruined everything. I asked Claire why she was telling me this, and she said Amanda is planning something. She's been talking about how I owe them for all the years they included me, and how she's going to make sure people know I'm unstable and bitter if I don't come through. I asked her what that meant. Claire hesitated. She said Amanda had already started talking to someone from HR at my job, trying to figure out if she could warn them about my declining mental health. My stomach dropped. She was trying to sabotage me at work, over money she had no right to, after everything I'd done. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I called a lawyer. The lawyer wasn't fancy, just someone a friend from work recommended. Her name was Evelyn, and from the first 5 minutes on the call, I could tell she didn't play games. She didn't gasp or act shocked when I explained everything. She just took notes and asked the right questions. Did they ever have access to your accounts? No. Were there ever written agreements regarding the money? No. Any threats, harassment, attempts to damage your reputation at work? Not yet, but they're talking about it. I told her about the years of silent giving, about the fake gratitude, about Amanda's recent threats, the Facebook messages, the group chat screenshots, the teacher's call, all of it. She asked me to forward everything I had. 2 days later, I received a formal cease and desist letter drafted and ready. It wasn't dramatic, no fire and brimstone, just cold professional language. It instructed Aaron and Amanda to stop all forms of slander, to cease contacting me, and to acknowledge in writing that they had no legal claim to any financial support, past or future. I printed 3 copies. One went to them by certified mail, one to my HR department just in case, and one stayed with me. The day after they received it, Amanda showed up at my office building. She didn't make it past the front desk. The security guard told me later she came in demanding to speak to someone in authority about me, that she had information about my instability and was just trying to do the right thing before something happened. But when they asked for her name and ID, she left fast. 2 hours after that, I got a voicemail from Aaron. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. His voice was low, almost defeated. "Congrats, Bridget, you win. You finally broke us." That was the last thing he said. No apology, no accountability, just the usual twist that I had somehow done something to them by refusing to let them use me anymore. For a moment it hurt, not because I wanted their approval, but because it confirmed something I had always suspected. They never saw me as family, just as leverage. A few days passed. Then Claire messaged again. This time she didn't sound nervous. She sounded different. "Just so you know, they've started telling people you threatened legal action against Jace. They're spinning it like you're attacking a child, but it's not working." Apparently, word had started to spread. The screenshots, the teacher's concern, my Facebook post, it all trickled through the church groups, the school moms, and Aaron's old friends. People weren't buying Amanda's stories anymore. Someone from their mortgage bank posted a vague tweet about entitled couples blaming everyone but themselves, and a friend of mine tagged me in the comments with a popcorn emoji. It was small, but it was something. Then came the biggest surprise of all. I got a call from a woman named Melissa. She worked at a nonprofit I donated to once years ago. She said they were looking for part-time board members, people with financial literacy, and a personal understanding of family estrangement and resilience. She told me my name had come up, not just from one person, but several. Apparently someone had shared what I'd posted, and people started talking. Melissa said, "I think a lot of people saw themselves in your story." That night I sat on my balcony watching the city lights flicker on. My phone buzzed every so often. Group invites, new messages, people I didn't even know reaching out just to say thank you. Aaron and Amanda, they stayed quiet, at least to me. But the silence didn't last because 2 weeks later, someone new showed up at my door. It was Jace, alone, backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked smaller than I remembered, and he said 4 words I never thought I'd hear. "I don't want to go back." I didn't speak right away. I just stood there watching him fidget on my porch like he didn't know what to do with his own hands. His voice had cracked a little when he said it. "I don't want to go back." But there were no tears, no dramatic breakdown. Just this stillness in his face I hadn't seen before. I asked where his parents were. He said Aaron dropped him off at the end of the street and told him to go fix this. They'd sent him alone. I brought him inside, made him a grilled cheese just to give us something normal to do. He sat at my table and didn't touch his food. He said they'd been fighting a lot. Money mostly. Amanda blamed him for messing things up with the dinner. Aaron said he needed to apologize to me if he ever wanted things to go back to normal. But Jace wasn't just there to apologize. He wasn't there because he missed me. He said he couldn't sleep. That every time his parents argued, they brought me up. That they told him I ruined everything. And he started to wonder if maybe they were lying. He'd heard them twist stories before about other people. He said something that made my skin crawl. "They told me to say whatever I had to say to get you to help again." He looked down at his plate. "But I don't want to lie. I don't even know if I'm mad at you. I just don't want to live in a house where everyone's angry all the time." I didn't hug him. I didn't say it was okay. I just told him I was going to call someone who could help. Not Amanda, not Aaron, someone who actually knew what to do with this kind of situation. And I did. Child Protective Services sent a caseworker within 2 hours. They didn't take him away immediately. They asked questions. They took notes. And when Aaron finally showed up, loud, red-faced, demanding to see his son, the caseworker asked him to leave the premises. He screamed my name from the sidewalk as they guided him back to his car. "You're dead to me, Bridget. You hear me? You're dead to us." But even that didn't rattle me anymore because for the first time I wasn't reacting. I wasn't flinching. I wasn't carrying their shame on my shoulders like I used to. I was just done. The next day I changed my number, blocked them both from everything. I deleted old emails, removed the bank information, and cleared out my saved contacts. Claire messaged me once more, just one sentence. "They're telling people you kidnapped him." I didn't even reply. The caseworker followed up a week later, said Jace was staying with a temporary guardian while things got sorted. He was safe. He didn't want to see Amanda or Aaron. And no, I wasn't responsible for him. I didn't need to take him in. That part of the cycle was over. But she did say something unexpected. "He still talks about you like you're the only person who ever really listened." That stuck with me. Months passed. I started volunteering with the nonprofit Melissa introduced me to. Part-time at first, then more. I found myself in rooms full of people who understood what it meant to walk away from the people who were supposed to love you. And I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was building something. For the first time, my life was about me. I found joy in the smallest things. My morning coffee, my jacket, which I never replaced. It still had that faint stain in the sleeve, and I kept it that way. A reminder not of pain, but of when everything finally changed. I hadn't heard from Aaron or Amanda since, but 3 weeks ago, at a community event, a teenage boy tapped me on the shoulder. He'd grown taller, thinner, wiser. "Jace." He didn't say much, just handed me a folded note and walked away. Inside it said, "I get it now. Thank you for saving me even when I didn't deserve it." And that was the last piece I needed.